It looks good to me.
I mean, everything looks good to me. Oh, are we all muted? Okay. So this is now where we do the thing and uh 3 words, film.
Jurassic
Um
Park.
how did you get it? I was about to do the T-Rex, Are we back yet? Can they actually hear us now? Galen, you're the only one that's muted. Well, that was embarrassing.
That's awesome.
Whoops. Hello.
There we go.
Oh
Okay,
my
it got me now.
gosh.
So I figured out what it was, which is that I had to completely deconstruct and reconstruct my setup this past week. So the thing I'd been attempting to say when it led to me being muted was that this is the first stream from the new house, which also meant everything got torn apart and put together, and I have no lights, and it's probably kind of echoey, and who knows how my internet is, but we will see.
It sounds great. You're extremely
will
self-conscious, and you should be, but
Yeah,
that's okay.
and we should be, exactly. Anyways, and I'm noticing all the crops are weird now too because it changed on me. But we'll live. Anyways, I'm Galen Herbst Cortina. This is Your Brand, Your Business, the show where we talk about the business side of streaming and content creation in general. Noah is my co-host today. Noah, who are you?
Hi, my name's Noah Downs. I'm a lawyer. I'm some of y'all's lawyers, but not yet in most of your cases. Just as a reminder that everything we're talking about today is for informational purposes only, at least as it relates to legal. It's not specific advice, and so it doesn't create an attorney-client relationship unless you're already a client. Also, I work with the law firm Morrison Rothman LLP, and you can find me on Twitter at my lawyer friend.
There you go. Carolyn, who are you?
I am Caroline, and I work with Noah every day, so you can imagine what that's like if you see him here every week. I am also a lawyer, and I also work at Morrison Rothman LLP, and I do a lot of intellectual property. I do a ton of stuff with video games, ton of stuff with cosplay, and super excited to be here to talk to you guys about that. So same thing Noah said, not legal advice.
All right.
We actually have a disclaimer command in chat.
We do.
Love that.
All right. Danielle, who are you, and what is your disclaimer?
Well, my name is Danielle. I do cosplay and streaming, so I'm here on the other side of the informational world.
Fair enough. Any disclaimers to give? Anything we need to worry about there?
Also, don't take this as legal advice, I guess.
Right, yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
I am not equipped for any legal advice, in fact. Take nothing from me.
All right.
That's awesome.
So, so like it says right below us, today we were going to talk about the business of cosplay, because cosplay actually is really big business nowadays. It's much like streaming, something that started pretty much universally as hobbyists, people who thought it was fun, interesting, they liked it, and then, holy shit, suddenly it makes money. So one of the first things we wanted to cover is just that how does it make money? So Danielle, can you tell us a bit about that?
I can. Well, I feel like from a few different platforms, and it really depends on how you want to monetize things. There's like websites like Patreon, Twitch. There is, merch, print stores, stickers, OnlyFans, all kinds of different, it's not so one-dimensional anymore, you can really kind of take it and run with it in any direction that you want, or all the directions if you don't value your free time.
Yeah, all of the direct, or if you really just want to build a cosplay empire.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. So that was a whole bunch of things.
We can really unpack that. I would say, obviously, talking about Twitch as a source of revenue for you. Obviously, you're a streamer and a cosplayer. Do you consider yourself to be a streaming cosplayer, or do you consider yourself both as a streamer and a cosplayer? How do you view that kind of dichotomy there?
I would say a cosplaying streamer, because that's kind of what I did first.
Yeah.
And I started Twitch streaming when they created the creative element.
Mm-hmm.
And I started streaming specifically to stream cosplays, like making cosplays and stuff.
Nice.
Cool.
It wasn't until I started to get the hang of it, really, that I started to like play games and stuff on there.
Playing Animal Crossing lately, because that's what everybody's playing.
I
Literally,
have been
like,
playing Animal Crossing, not on stream though.
oh
I've
god,
actually been playing through Mass Effect for the first time.
Nice.
once.
Wait, for the
Really?
first time. Oh.
the
Yeah.
first
choice.
Mass Effect for the first time.
Well, I started on the second Mass Effect with the
Okay.
DLC
Oh, okay.
Wow.
that like lets you do all of the same decisions.
Right,
Like
right.
it just presents you with like a summarized version of the first one, and it takes you through each like crucial decision, and then it impacts your Mass Effect 2 game.
I was
That's awesome.
really unhappy with how they changed combat for biotics after Mass Effect 1, but that's 10 years ago at this point, so I won't be still mad about it.
Wow.
They basically made, instead of every skill having its own cooldown, a global cooldown for biotic abilities, which took you from being able to do really interesting combinations of abilities that lined up really nicely to you use the same thing over and over and over and over and over again because it was
Right.
the most effective. Anyways.
They ruined their golden balance. I get you. I know where you're going.
Yeah. So Twitch is one potential source of revenue, which it sounds like would be very similar to other streamers. You mentioned Patreon also being one. What kinds of things do you do on Patreon?
You can offer kind of all kinds of things now. They just actually rolled out their own merch sort of fulfillment center where you can create, mug designs or t-shirts or whatever, and Patreon will actually fulfill them for you as part of your tiers. It's brand
Really?
new.
That's cool.
Ah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
All right,
Stuff
lawyers,
like that.
what can she put on those mugs? What isn't allowed?
Oh,
Yeah.
we'll get into that in a second. She can put anything that she creates on those mugs as long as nobody else created it first.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah,
think
I
that's-
mean that's
I think
That's
that's
pretty
technically
good.
correct. Yeah.
it's getting
There.
there. Yeah.
End of show. Bye, guys.
Yeah, right. You don't need us anymore.
So Patreon has now the merch. Sorry, I did cut in, but they have the merch
No,
now.
I'm
What
actually,
else?
I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
That's why we have the lawyers on this, is
Yeah.
because yeah. So when I was doing my client risk assessments at the start of this year for my clients who stream Nintendo games, one of the listed risks was Nintendo legal. Just, because, right? Anyway, so merch potentially through Patreon. What else do you do on Patreon?
I think Patreon is mostly in the cosplay community utilized for print rewards as well,
Okay.
like posters and stickers and Polaroids usually of like costumes and like finished cosplay, like photo shoots. Everybody gets like a print and stuff like that. But there's all kinds of stuff you could put on there. You could put polls on there if you were like worried, like concerned of like what cosplay to make next. You can put videos like behind the scenes if you're like filming videos while you shoot, like behind the scenes stuff, or even like Q&A specifics for Patreon. Really, you can kind of do anything. You can upload audio files, all kinds of stuff. So
the upsides
my
and
roommate
downsides of
does that.
customizability then? You can do anything, but also you can do anything. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
yeah.
So
Right.
I will say that we got two great questions from that in chat. I'll answer them real quick. One comes from Distracted DM, who I know to be Austin Hoffman, who's a wonderful person. And he says, so people support you on Patreon. Do they ever get a chance to vote for what cosplay you do?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. On mine, yes. It really, everybody sets theirs up differently, but yeah, I have that as part of my rewards.
That's awesome. And then another one says, oh, this is a larger question, so we might actually get into this as we go. In fact, I know we'll get into this as we go. Ice Wolf says, I have a friend who's interested in starting cosplay, wants to know how to monetize it. Do you have suggestions for small cosplayers looking to make a living? Well, I can answer that a little bit. Patreon clearly helps. Obviously, we're going to talk with Danielle a little bit more about what we're doing there. So,
Yeah. As far as starting out, I have a panel that I do at conventions that's like very similar to this.
yeah.
Because my roommate and I we both cosplay, but we both cosplay in like sort of different ways. She does a lot of crossplay and like TikTok stuff, and I do a lot of Instagram and like modeling. So we like sort of cover all the bases on accident.
That's cool.
But she had something really good to say about this, which is if you start out If you're just starting out in cosplay and you're trying to make a Patreon, you're not going to have the audience behind you necessarily right away to like hit the ground running. But instead, you should make 1 or 2 tiers to start out with like smaller rewards and just sort of build from there. Like once you hit 30 patrons, you can open up a Polaroid tier, you know what I mean? And then little by little, as opposed to like a bunch of tiers with a bunch of things and getting really excited about it and then realizing that there's no way you'll ever be able to sustain it.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden I have 50 tiers. Each one's $1, except for the last one, which is $1,000, and that's one person.
I did that. I made those.
Did you really?
You have like 15 tiers right now, don't you?
I do.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so I was gonna say, do you find that having a lot of tiers really helps you drive revenue, or does it help you engage with your fans more because different people can do different things?
Honestly, what I think the mistake that I made was trying to give as many people what they want as humanly possible, as opposed to really like understanding what I can offer well, if that makes sense. Like I'm looking forward to restructuring everything soon, because I think I have too many right now.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that's we'll need to get the costs info from you eventually for that. That's something we're literally working on that this week.
Well, I was gonna say I'm looking forward to Galen and I talking about this.
Okay, so Patreon lets you do anything, everything. By the way, just as a heads up, work from home for everyone, yay! And we're in a new place. You may hear cats and babies on my end, so apologies there.
Right, I understand.
Patreon could be pretty much. It sounds like anything, but it sounds like Patreon's not necessarily the place that you build your audience. It's where you funnel your audience. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So, okay. So we got potentially streaming. Sounds like TikTok, depending on your, market.
TikTok's huge right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it at all. I'm old. Instagram.
Yes, you are old.
Instagram, you mentioned. Patreon, you mentioned.
What about OnlyFans?
Some people are doing that, right?
Yeah. So, Danielle, I believe you and I have talked about OnlyFans previously. Like, what are you seeing as the difference between Patreon and OnlyFans? Which is the question I asked you literally 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm setting it up for this. So.
I think that OnlyFans is more of like a Instagram feed as opposed to Patreon, which I think you offer specific tiered rewards. Like there's no tiers on OnlyFans.
Oh.
It's just a feed, and you can either choose to monetize that feed with a subscription fee, or you can just make it free and have whoever wants to follow you, which I think is the better way to go, as opposed to for me personally, because I have so many other things going on, right? Patreon, Twitch, print store, keeping up with this and that and this and that. And so for me, it's easier if I keep it free, and then it's a lot less pressure that way. And that way, if I do want to post something exclusive or like extra cool that I think should be like paid content, I can do that whenever I want, as opposed to having people sign up for a monthly fee and then them expecting a certain amount of content from me.
Oh, you can make individual posts on OnlyFans monetized? Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's wild.
And then you talked about going to conventions. Are conventions a meaningful part of revenue for you? Do they serve a different function?
I think that it's probably split in half as far as financially beneficial, but like I think what conventions mostly do are connect you with people that you wouldn't get to meet in real life otherwise.
So again, a lot like streaming, where it's yes, you could make business deals there potentially. Yes, you could be paid an appearance fee, but really what it is meeting other people in the industry, getting opportunities, that kind of stuff that later turn into revenue. Okay.
Right. So basically what I'm hearing is that if you really want to get into cosplay right now is a really bad time to rely on conventions.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've felt
Since
really
2020 is canceled.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly.
I felt really bad about that because I've had some people who are like young financial planners who are interested in streaming, esports, that kind of stuff. Like, how do you start? I was like, I went to a bunch of conventions and met a lot of people.
Ooh.
Networking events.
Don't
like,
think that's
oh,
gonna. Yeah, yeah,
just kidding.
exactly. Okay. So, but you have been paid, right, to attend conventions, presumably in cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
I say this, I know you have. We literally had
Yeah.
lunch after you came out of costume at East. So,
Yeah.
is there anything that I'm missing in that list?
As far as
Like
platforms
yeah.
to monetize,
Are you doing
YouTube?
anything on Etsy?
Etsy store. Well, yeah. So I don't do commissions, but I know a lot of people who do. And Etsy and Store Envy are both really good website platforms to host that kind of stuff on.
I didn't even think about Etsy as a route for cosplayers before. That's
people
really
sell, like,
interesting.
patterns.
Yeah.
Prints and patterns.
Right, prints too, for sure. But patterns are the ones I've seen big because they're so scalable, right? You only need to make the
Wow.
pattern once; it's a digital item; it can go out. But
Mhm.
so how do you? So first of all, how do you develop these different revenue streams? How do you? And just sort of a following in general. But what was the approach that you took to have people care about seeing what Danielle was in cosplay as?
I think any online personality kind of has to build their brand around themselves, right? So like, it started off with just cosplay, but then you start to like develop relationships with people, and like, you know, when you Twitch stream, people come back over and over again, and you start to like,
I've
I
been
don't
seeing
know,
a lot of
develop a
Danielle
community.
emotes in chat.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
They're so cute.
That's awesome.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anyways.
So build it around you. Is there a particular platform that worked super well for you, or a platform that you'd recommend if someone were starting out?
I think video content is the content that creates the most connection, right?
Huh,
So YouTube
okay.
and Twitch for sure. Or if you want to utilize Instagram, what is it? Instagram Live or Instagram? Not
yeah.
Instagram Live. There's a
Yeah.
video platform on Instagram.
Oh,
I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone uses it.
Just
but-
call it Instagram Live. Like I know
Okay.
I know
Instagram's
3
close
people that
enough.
use it. So
Right. Stuff like that, or even just video content for socials, I think is
Okay.
beneficial.
Interesting. So video being a really big, and why video over photo?
I think you can convey personality through photos, but you can't. Like, I remember the first time I posted an Instagram story where I was actually talking to the camera, and I got a few messages being like, "That's the first time I've ever heard you speak," and I was like, "Wow, what a concept! I didn't even realize that nobody actually like knows that
You're
side."
a human who interacts.
Yeah,
and-
uh-huh.
what crazy.
Gotcha. Interesting.
We're people.
Right.
Okay. And so one other thing that we wanted to talk about in terms of the business side of thing is cosplay is probably more expensive than streaming, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
probably.
What kinds of things are you having to, in the normal course of running your business, buy and use just to, like, material supplies, that kind of thing, to run your business?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. I'm trying to do my taxes. I'm like, poor Ernest. I've emailed him like 20 times.
Ernest, anota host of our
I was
show.
like, hi, me again.
Hello, you may recognize me from my last email 10 minutes ago.
Here I am with more questions. There's so many different like categories, right? So like, as far as costume building, there's huge, because you have foam, you have Warbler, which is super expensive. You know, all your tools, heat
What
guns,
was that?
Dremel,
Warbler.
belt sanders, paint, spray paint, Plastidip, all of these like.
Are you
materials.
remodeling houses?
Sorry,
Are you remodeling houses?
that's what I'm
No,
saying. Yeah,
she's
basically.
remodeling.
You would think.
She's
Jeez.
remodeling the internet. Okay.
I was gonna-
Right. Yeah, we have so many like tools and supply. You know, you need blades and knives and foam tools and all kinds of like
Wow.
stuff, resin, and so there's all of these like material costs, like fabrics and trims, and even like one trip to Joann's is never less than $100. So like
40%
all
off.
that
40% off.
stuff aside, there's the material costs, right? But then
Right.
if you do shipping, if you have a print store, there's all of these other costs, which is your print inventory. You have to keep inventory stocked.
Right.
Stickers, inventory stocked, and whatever else that you sell. If you are doing your own merchandise, then you need to have that all stocked.
Mhm.
You need envelopes, you need tape, you need do not bend stickers, you need Sharpies, you need, and label paper. And so you have all of these, like, I know all of this because I just listed it out for Ernest.
Right.
That's awesome. I will say you popped in there and you said do not bend stickers, which to me implies that you learned that lesson.
Right.
With a capital L.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I would say is obviously you've learned some lessons as a cosplayer, as somebody who is doing this full time, as a broadcaster as well. Caroline, what are some of the things that you would advise to new cosplayers trying to get in terms of from the legal side? What protection should they be taking from the beginning? Because obviously we're hearing about these revenue streams, but they want to protect those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're getting into the cosplay industry and you want to be making money off of this, you obviously want to protect it. Big part of that comes into, making sure you have enough to invest in legal fees and figuring out how to best go about that. So the first thing you should probably do is consider getting a lawyer like us. If you're really, deciding to be invested in this, is, how are you going to protect your work? So forming an LLC it sounds crazy when I say it, but that's going to be the liability shield between you and your company. It's going to keep you separate from your business. So if something happens and, someone decides to sue you for whatever reason,
a bent envelope, right? We already heard that's a major
right,
risk.
exactly.
Yeah.
That was going to separate your car, your house, everything you own personally is going to be protected through that LLC.
There are some Halo, energy swords that are definitely in the background. That
will also
protect
protect you.
Exactly. So.
As far as another thing to protect you, a lot of cases you want to protect your identity. So you want to protect your personal address. You want to protect, your house, your number, your even your birth name, your legal name. At sometimes, if you become a big cosplayer, that stuff can become an issue. So
and you can do that through your LLC.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can have through an LLC what's called a registered agent, which is going to be the person that's listed as the agent on your LLC when it's in the public record. It'll also have a different address, which is really great if you're trying to protect that stuff, which you should be. But that is also going to be big when it comes to another thing you should protect, which is your trademark.
Yeah. Now I'll toss it to you in a little bit to talk about protecting your assets once you get out there. But let's stick with the LLC thing for a second. Obviously, you mentioned if you get sued by somebody, what are some of the issues and Danielle, hopefully this doesn't ring any bells for you, so don't react visibly. But what's some of the issues that people should be wondering about if they're getting into cosplay in terms of copyright, trademark, other people's IP, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so if we look at cosplay itself, is it copyright infringement? That's a huge question that a lot of cosplayers ask, and it's a great question because a lot of people don't know the answer, mostly because the court hasn't actually given us an answer because companies are not usually, like Nintendo's not going to sue an Isabelle cosplayer. Sorry, I've probably been playing a lot of Animal Crossing.
Wow.
I haven't stopped for 2 weeks.
What about the Ruth Bader Ginsburg cosplayers?
That could be me.
Wait, there's RBG cosplay? I'm totally down. I'm going to do
Go
that.
to a law school Halloween party. You'll see an RBG cosplayer.
Sorry. Yeah, so.
But if, for God forbid anything ever happens and something like that, it's your LLC that's going to be the owner of the copyright of the work that is claimed to be infringing. It's not going to be you personally. And that brings a lot of relief to people.
Yeah, I'll say that, and along those lines, one of my clients one time in a past life was sued to the tune of $4 million. And this is now public info, so I can talk about some of these things. Sued to the tune of $4 million, and they
How you doing there, Danielle?
It wasn't Danielle. It was not Danielle. So she was
scaring her.
She was sued to the tune of $4 million, but fortunately she'd run everything through her LLC and she'd set it up properly so that her LLC was completely separate from her. Even though she was personally named in the lawsuit, since everything went through the LLC, the LLC owned like a Toyota Tacoma and an old computer, as well as some basic cosplaying assets. And so we were able to settle because obviously if they got a judgment against the LLC, we just, liquidate it. They could get what they got there. So
here's a bunch of foam and some like 3D printing filament, and you're
now, based on what Danielle just told me, I think that's probably worth $4 million.
Yeah, I mean, the Warbler alone, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The Warbler.
Okay, wait. Help me out here. You both have said that word now that I have no clue what it is. One more time.
Somebody spell out what
it's like
Warbler...
a big sheet,
yeah,
and you put a heat gun on it. I cosplay for fun. Like, I went to Katsucon this year, and like, I do not make money on it at all.
Which is Ernest's handle, and apparently, I agree every cosplayer needs him, but you're talking about him in very...
Like as a commodity.
In terms I don't associate, like a commodity, exactly.
So it's a sheet of plastic you heat up, and it flexes, and then it dries.
Okay.
And, well, it dries, it cools, and it...
I've used Warble before.
I say dries too, all the time.
Yeah, right?
It dries, it hardens.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm a lawyer.
You can throw it against a wall. It'd stay good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's the thermoplastic. So you heat it and it becomes malleable, and then when it cools, it hardens again.
Okay.
But one XL sheet, which is probably like the size of my desk, is over $100.
Oh.
So that $4 million, they would have actually gotten it.
An all Warbler.
Yeah. Okay,
that's amazing.
Interesting. Huh. Sorry, an aside, but just you both said the word, and I was sitting here like, I have no clue what that is.
That's absolutely wild. So
it's awesome.
Danielle, how do you try to offset some of those expenses that you are having? For example, the super expensive Warbler. Do you get other people to pay for it? How do you work with that?
Sponsorships are cool, yeah. If that's what companies are into, then it's helpful for sure. Oh no.
Whoa.
I don't know what just happened.
Did you? Oh, stream. I was like, whoa.
My mouth.
I thought I'd done something on my end.
She's like.
I loved it. It was really good effect.
She was like,
listen to me. On that, yeah.
I was really worried that I had done that. Well, I was like sitting back. I hadn't touched anything, but
even though we know that Danielle did it, let's assume Galen did it. Anyways, continue. So getting some sponsorships to pay for things, that makes sense. Do you include like a materials fee if you have an appearance or something in your contracts?
So it depends on what the contract is for. If it's just for like coming to a convention and like sitting at a booth, no. But if it's for a costume, like if I got commissioned from a company to like create a cosplay for their character, then yes.
Which is what you did at East, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, tell us about that. I completely missed that one.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. You didn't tell me anything about it, Galen.
Oh, you should say it. It's cool.
It was an original design for the Predator, Acer Predator. They do this every year at PAX East. They have a cosplayer create a like armor, like futuristic, like techie armor based on like their OCs that they have for the Predator line. They have this whole like world that they built with like characters and like graphic novels and
I did not know
stuff
that.
like that. So
that's sick.
It's so cool. So I built one of those for them again this year.
That's awesome. See, I thought you might be. See, there was one cosplayer that I saw at East, and that just completely creeped me out. And I was really hoping it wasn't you. Ironically, it was the Vertigear chair that you could.
Oh
sit
yeah,
in.
that was weird.
I don't know if you saw that.
The one that was asking people to sit on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
I did
weird.
see that.
Yeah, that was.
They claimed this PAX East this year.
So you don't recommend doing that as a cosplay?
So
a chair.
Right.
I'll say, but it sounds like the decision though when you're being sponsored for an appearance depends on whether or not you're having to also do your own fabrication versus be you at their booth.
Right.
Okay.
So
go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So kind of tossing it back. Once you've done all that investment, once you've invested everything in your shoots, getting everything out through Patreon and OnlyFans. Caroline, how do you go about protecting that kind of thing? Like what methods are available? And obviously, a lot of us know the answer to this. I'm tossing to you because you're the best.
Oh, shucks, Noah, you give me too much credit. But, I mean, there are a few things you should protect. First is your name. So what handle you go by, your stage name, even if it's your legal name, whatever it is, if you're using it in the marketplace and selling stuff under your name, you want to have protection over that. And that's a trademark. This is going to help you as far as, if someone's using your name to sell products or even using your name to sell your products, it makes it a lot easier to get that stuff down if you have a trademark or if you've even just applied for one. It's a big deal. And
so that would be like if I saw it there and, it was, if I was cosplaying and I was selling something and it would say, this is the Noah Downs merch line, and it wasn't my kind of thing, but I had a trademark on my name, I could do that.
You could. Yeah,
cool.
Makes it a lot easier. Another thing you should consider is copyright. And we kind of touched on it earlier, but basically if you want to make sure that you can sue someone in the event that they take your work and redistribute it without your permission, you want to consider getting a copyright registration. There are a few different intricacies that come into that, whether like when you need one and how you can get one and what kind of application you should file and stuff like that. But making sure you know when you need one and how you need to get it is super important for that stuff.
So when Danielle's going out there and she's got Patreon going up, what's to stop people from, taking her stuff and posting it all over the internet for free?
It's called the Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
Hey, crazy!
Which I'm sure many people have heard of the DMCA. We're on Twitch. I'm sure the DMCA is.
Yeah, we've actually done shows on this channel about it before. So.
Oh, I totally knew that. No,
yeah,
I've stepped in. But the DMCA is the law in place that lets your attorney, you, whoever, prominently your attorney if you have a lot of stuff going on. But that allows us to go ahead and file DMCA takedown notifications, which are from Section 512 of the DMCA. And I'm a huge DMCA nerd, so I could keep going
You
forever,
really are. That's why you're on the show.
But there is a notice and takedown procedure pursuant to the DMCA, and websites that do not comply with that procedure or web hosts who don't comply with that procedure are at risk for further legal action through a copyright infringement lawsuit.
And from what I recall from our discussion on DMCA, and again, not the lawyer, so correct me here, that's a part of why Twitch, if there's a DMCA claim against someone, might ban or suspend a channel automatically and then subsequently reinstate it, right? It's because they have to worry as the platform about those claims?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So if a platform doesn't respond to DMCA notices in a quick and expeditious, I think is expeditious. I'm a lawyer.
Expeditious. Listen,
I think it's expeditious. That's the
lawyer.
word that
That
the law
was
shows.
the word.
If they don't respond to them very quickly, then that is going to put them at risk for being liable. So if Twitch doesn't respond to a DMCA notice, Twitch could get in trouble for the copyright infringement that you as the streamer may or may not have actually committed.
So we've got a couple of good questions in chat about that actually. Is making a cosplay of an Overwatch character, for example, copyright infringement that Blizzard could sue over?
Is having your Twitter profile a fan creation of an Overwatch character an issue?
Are you calling out our boss right now?
Yes,
Ryan
I am.
Morrison?
Yes, I am. So Danielle, there's a Ryan Morrison of Morrison Rothman's avatar is definitely Soldier 76, just slightly changed to be him.
It is not Soldier 76. It is Ryan Morrison. You're right. It's Soldier 76.
It's inspired by.
Yeah, but to that point is making a cosplay of an Overwatch character something that Blizzard could sue over, or would it be possible to protect a cosplay if someone else owns that IP?
That's a tricky question, and it's one that I've done a lot of research on in the past couple of years because as someone who does cosplay and as someone who works with cosplayers, it's kind of a big thing to know. The law says that characters and character designs are copyrightable. Right. So, Soldier 76 is a copyrighted character. That comes from a case where, what is the name of the kid in that book with the red hat?
Oh, I don't remember.
It's like a high school book. Catcher in the Rye.
Yep.
Okay.
That
Anyway.
Holden Caulfield.
But those things are Holden Caulfield. Yeah. Those things are entitled to copyright protection.
Ash Ketchum in chat.
Thank you, chat.
It's definitely Ash Ketchum. More
What did you say,
recognizable than
poses?
Holden Caulfield, probably.
Yeah.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
Pokemon's
Anyway,
made the billions, so yeah.
But there's also an argument out there, and it's a totally legitimate argument that that cosplay is fair use because it is it transformative? I mean, is it a totally
And what is
different
fair
work?
use? What makes something fair to use?
That's a great question.
Can I just say this is fair for me to use and I'm safe from all legal challenge?
No. Do you know the episode of The Office where he goes in and Michael says, "I declare bankruptcy," and then Oscar goes and says, "That's not how bankruptcy works." That's fair use, basically. Like, you can't
That's
just say
really
something's
good.
fair
I'm
use.
gonna steal that and not give you any credit.
That's fine. Go ahead. So that could be a whole episode itself. But whether or not cosplay is fair use, it really depends on the case by case. So you're going to look at a cosplay and say, okay, like, is this an exact copy? I mean, there's an argument that it's someone wearing and transforming the cosplay. You know, you spend a lot of time fitting it to your own form. There's a lot of, I mean, yeah, sure, there's a lot of craftsmanship that goes into it. But when it comes to copying, the carts are kind of like, we don't really care how much work you put into it, which is kind of, but anyway, I mean, there's a lot of discussion about whether or not it's transformative. Is it creating a new work? The courts don't know because Nintendo's not going to sue the Isabel cosplayer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
We won't know until it happens.
And hopefully it doesn't happen to any of our clients. So Danielle's like, guys, stop.
It's not super likely. I mean, it would be really bad publicity if Blizzard decided to, you know.
Well, companies definitely benefit from cosplayers.
Exactly.
Right.
First of all, they pay them often to do cosplay, right? But secondarily, they definitely benefit from. Does saying they benefit mean therefore it's totally fine legally? No, right?
No, it doesn't.
But they have to choose to pursue, right? It's not an automated...
Exactly. So they would have to take affirmative action and be like, all right, we're going to go after this.
Yeah.
And they have every right to, but...
And to that point, obviously, as Galen said, these companies are encouraging cosplay in some cases because they're hiring professional cosplayers like Danielle. Danielle, what's your favorite kind of cosplay contract you've done? Like, especially for a big company.
That's a big question.
I know.
I feel like so I've only done a few, like the Acer one that I mentioned earlier, where I get to actually design it myself. I feel like that's probably the most fun because it's the only time I've ever created something from nothing, as opposed to like following the design, like looking at a photo and trying to replicate it, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh,
creative freedom is cool.
Yeah, creative freedom is great.
Fair, yeah. Interesting.
Fair
Little
use.
things.
No, just kidding. So, that's awesome. So, Galen, do you have any other questions you want to toss these through? We want to grab some of the questions from chat.
One of the things that I want to sort of circle back to, because we've already seen it in the chat, what is the difference between trademark and copyright? We've talked about both. We've talked about what each is, but how do we compare and contrast them?
Go get them, Caroline.
So a copyright is a creative expression. It's in a tangible form. It's something you make. The courts say that, you know, there's a really low threshold for what can be creative. For example, there's a really old law school case out there where the way a phone book was put together as a compilation was creative enough. So that should give you an idea that it's a minimum degree of creativity. So, I mean, if
I drew a smiley face on a Post-it note and said, "This is Caroline," that's my portrait of Caroline.
It's real bad when I could be considered creative. Like, you know, that's a low bar.
It's a pretty low bar.
Hop it when it comes to creativity.
Just because it meets that threshold, it doesn't necessarily mean it's entitled to copyright protection automatically. But for the most part, if you draw if you do a painting, probably you're going to be fine. But if you draw a smiley face, there's a lot of other things that I could talk about
Gotcha,
symbols
cool.
and all that. But in a trademark is what you're going to be using as the source designator to sell your product or distribute your goods or to provide a service. For example, let's see. Trying to think of a good one. I mean, Apple uses the Apple trademark to sell computers.
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
straightforward one.
So they'd copyright the Apple logo, but use the Apple trademark to sell computers?
No.
No?
So
So help me out
if you're
here.
using it as a source designator, it's like a very
I got one.
My fiance is a lawyer, and we have this conversation once a week.
You guys must be
If
really
you're using
interesting
it as a
conversation.
source designator, then even if it's like a picture, you can trademark a picture if you're using it as like, this is the source of this product or service. For example, like the Mickey Mouse ears.
Yeah.
That is a trademark. It's also copyrighted as a form of art to some extent, like Mickey Mouse's face.
So essentially, if it is the source, if it is the name, then it's a trademark. If it's the product, if it's what is created, that's what can be copyrighted.
If it's, exactly.
Although it does get into a really blurry area if, for example, everybody's watching, this really popular series on Netflix right now. Netflix, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger King. The lawsuit in that case wasn't actually a trademark lawsuit.
Oh my gosh.
For Big Cat Rescue. It was a copyright lawsuit because they took the design and the logo and everything. It was really cool.
It drove me nuts.
It was awesome.
I haven't gotten that far in the show yet. We've only watched 2 episodes. We watched
You'll
them both
get
last
there.
night, and it was wild.
Just imagining Caroline with like the angry Arthur fist.
Oh yeah, exactly, like the clenched. Yeah,
Okay, it's so embarrassing.
exactly.
So sometimes she just sends that to me as a GIF, like after a meeting or something, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm with you
That's,
there. So
my dad's a retired doctor, and that's how he was with any medical show.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, there's so many terrible lawyer shows out there that like I don't know a single good lawyer show. Yep, can't name one. Done.
How is Phoenix Wright?
So it's.
I was gonna say
see it
we've
in
got
the
our
background.
ace
I'm
attorney.
doing a panel on this at Kineticon. It's called the Ace Attorney Trilogy and the Law.
That's amazing.
And it's how
That's awesome.
Phoenix Wright. I love him very much, but those games are.
So yeah, I was about to say,
wild.
like, if you're watching, clearly Caroline is a fan of Phoenix Wright because it's right there in her. God, that was a nice softball, Danielle.
So that, I mean, we always hear about like these are things that you may need or may be something that can help protect you. How do you actually obtain these? I think we sort of touched on it again with the help of a lawyer often, right? If not always.
Right.
But what is the process like for obtaining one? How long does it take? What does it cost? What do you need to prepare to do something about it?
I can take that one kind of as if you were DIYing a trademark. I will tell you to not do it straight up, because we get a lot of business at the law firm from people who thought they were doing a trademark right. Even other lawyers that think that they're a lawyer that can do a trademark, but they haven't been trained in doing that. And so they go off and file one, and when they mess it up, we make a lot of money fixing it. It's much cheaper to hire a lawyer to do it on the front end. Now, copyright's really self-explanatory. The U.S. Copyright Office actually has a walkthrough that can help you with it. So if you're filing a ton of them, or if you're trying to do something really creative with the filing, like protect a compilation of copyrights, then talk to a lawyer. But in general, you can do that yourself. Your filing fees to the trademark office are typically going to be about $275, $300 in that range, and that's to just file it. But they're so backed up, they're going to take you 4 months to even hear back from them after you file it. So.
Oh yeah, at least.
Okay, interesting. And
I have a question.
Go for it.
Go for it.
As a cosplayer, I've been told that if somebody takes my picture, they own the copyright to that image. Is that true?
So yes.
You mean a photographer taking a photo of you?
Yeah. So for example, if someone takes your photo, they have created a work that is their artistic expression, because there's things that go into it that talk about the angle, the lighting, etc., where they're coming from. However, if they try and commercialize it, they could be violating your likeness rights. So, for example,
that's a whole other fun area of law.
It's a whole other thing.
So we've got trademark, copyright, and now likeness rights.
Yeah, we don't have time to go into that.
That's state by state.
Yeah, it's state by state. So and there's 50 of those. and a few territories. And so,
Good job.
But Danielle, typically what will, and I'll let Caroline echo this, what we'll recommend to people is having a contractor agreement if you're hiring people to do your photo shoots. So make sure that you actually own what they're taking shots of.
Okay.
Caroline, what goes into a contractor agreement?
Oh gosh. So essentially you just kind of, again, echoing what you said, you want to make sure that anything that that person creates as an independent contractor hired by you belongs to you. So when a photographer takes that picture, that's their property. Again, there's the likeness stuff that Noah mentioned. But if you have that independent contractor agreement in place, or if it's part of a contract you've signed with this photographer, I know that sometimes some photographers will let you, they'll let you give them like a license fee so that you can use the images to make prints and stuff like that. So it really depends on the situation. But if you are going to go with the independent contractor route, you're going to want to make sure that that agreement that you're with includes a requirement that the photographer assign the rights in those photos that they take of you to you, so that you own them and you have the right to distribute them and duplicate them and print them and sell them.
Which can't always be practical. For example, like Emma Jupiter says in chat, if the photographer approaches you at a convention.
Right.
If they're a professional photographer, then you should have a conversation with them about it. That said, if someone just randomly approaches you at a convention and says, hey, strike a pose, and you're up for it, then they would own that copyright and they can exploit it, they can sell it, that kind of stuff. And you would have some residual rights in the likeness, as I mentioned. But in general, that's theirs. And in fact, if you were to take that photo, if you really liked it and you uploaded it to your own Twitter or something, they could issue a DMCA to you. What's up?
The law.
Lawyers.
Ooh, fun stuff.
So,
any other legal questions?
I was about to say, Danielle, that was a great question. Do you got any
that
more?
That was good.
That was something that I was thinking about for a while, because I have photographers who are like very lax about everything, and then I have some photographers who are like, here's the contract, you sign it, you have all the rights now, you know what I mean, like very together.
I would be very hesitant to sign a contract that a photographer gave me if you were the cosplayer.
Okay.
We'll talk later.
The thing that I'm talking about is a transfer of rights, I think.
Right.
I don't know. I should probably, show it to you.
I got you, don't worry.
Okay.
So then my next question goes back to Danielle about sort of the production aspect of cosplay. I don't mean the fabrication, but the production aspect of. You talked about the fact that you have a lot of Patreon tiers. It involves a lot of material for prints, mailing, that kind of stuff.
Right.
How much time and effort does it take to do all of
that? If it helps put everything into perspective, I haven't gotten to play Animal Crossing in a few days. I really want to.
The horror.
You can come visit my able sisters.
Okay.
Close.
And I also haven't been able to play when the sun's out, so I've only been able to catch the exact same 3 insects.
Wow.
I'll start
I
saving
guess
stuff
it
for you.
requires a lot of dedication for sure. It's a big time commitment in every regard, whether it be shipping takes all day. If it's a shipping day, it's Tuesday and it's all day. Costume building can take weeks, if not months, if it's like big and crazy. So yeah, it's definitely like, I would say the time it takes usually exceeds the financial sink.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's art. I mean, what you guys are doing is art, just like the photography is art. And I would say that it is a wonderful form of expression, and obviously it takes a lot of passion, but you do a great job at it.
Oh, thanks.
It's funny, you asked the question about photography as Martin Wong pops
Yeah,
in the chat.
Oh yeah, I met him at East. Hello.
Hey, buddy. So that was hilarious.
Actually, I think I met him at East because I was walking around with you, Danielle.
Yeah.
Anyways, so you mentioned it takes a ton of time both to actually fabricate, potentially a cosplay itself, but then also to do the production, shipping, that kind of a thing. As a business owner, what kinds of things are you doing to help you focus on the things that you can do and maybe free yourself from some of the other stuff?
While you said that in my head, even I was like, and that doesn't even include the photo shoots and the, time to
My list is
edit
too
the
short,
photos.
sorry.
And I was just like stringing along all the rest of it, and I was like, oh gosh.
There's
To be honest, it's hard because cosplay is so new, right? So like expressing that you might need help or an assistant or something seems pretentious, even though it's not. But definitely, like, I recently this year have gotten to know all of you through deciding to like offset some of the work that I shouldn't need to do myself, like Galen and Ernest and Noah and now Caroline.
Yep. Yeah, that's what we're here for. I think that it's always great for a professional such as yourself to get people to help them with services that they need. And so, I mean, obviously, you have great advisors in Galen and Ernest as well. So that helps you take the time off and focus on what you are really good and passionate about.
Beyond
The
that,
business of cosplay.
There you go. I was say, beyond that, how do you manage planning out all that you need to do in terms of not only what cosplays you're doing, but what you need to do to fulfill them, what you need to do to get, shoots done, prints out, that kind of a thing? Do you just, is it a beautiful mind in your house with stick things stuck to the wall and string all between them?
Kind of, yeah. There's a big joke going on between like my Twitch stream and I and like my roommates. Yeah, Emma's my roommate, so she's like
really?
literally yes.
Yes.
I have a giant whiteboard that is in here on the wall, and then I also have a giant whiteboard in my bedroom, and then I have like 8 notebooks like strategically placed throughout the house where we like write as soon as like there's like a light bulb we're like oh that would be a good YouTube video.
That would be amazing.
But it helps to, I think it's really easy to get overwhelmed with all of the little things that you have to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely helps when you get to like see it all written out. And then maybe if it's organized by priority is what I usually do. I have like a high priority, medium, and then low priority thing. And then I take feverishly with my whiteboard markers and categorize them all.
So tell me, on your whiteboards, what is it higher in priority? Is it the CFP financial planner cosplay, or is it the lawyer cosplay? Just asking for research purposes.
Oh no. All right, see you guys.
On the spot.
Wow, Noah. I like too that it wasn't which of us, it was which cosplay. Because I don't think I'll live to see the day that someone cosplays a financial planner. And
I'm not trying to pretend I'm the coolest lawyer in the world. Phoenix Wright is literally on stream.
Yeah, you were leading the witness. How dare you?
Oh, gosh. Did you guys just literally object to me? This is a first for this channel. I've been objected to by our guests.
I like it. And as the person streaming it, Noah's now muted. Objection noted. So
can you just leave it like that? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can you put that in our meetings too, like later on? For the rest
the key is to pay the $100 a year for Zoom. Oh yeah, he can unmute himself.
Okay.
I didn't say any of that. No.
So I did want to open up the time for if there are other questions for you to ask them right now of any of us. I did see one that will go to the lawyers, which is selling cosplay patterns legal since you're selling a pattern to someone else's character? So I think there's 2 pieces to that. One is, what if it's your OC? And one is, what if it's someone else's character?
Caroline, go for it.
Yeah, there was actually a case that came down somewhat recently within the last year or two where it was questioning whether cheerleading uniforms were protected by copyright, like specifically the design of a cheerleading uniform.
Like of a specific group, like Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, or as if it's just cheerleading in general?
So I don't remember the exact team, but I think they were like generic cheerleader uniforms. Gotcha. Chevron. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But essentially, the court came down and said, yeah, I mean, this is copyrightable, which was a huge shift in how we understand fashion and copyright law to come together. That comes towards the, copyrightability of a pattern, which, I mean, it depends. You're deconstructing it. You're putting it back together. I know. I hate to say it depends. It shouldn't.
We
even
do
be
all the
allowed
time on
here.
Well, no, that's the best answer.
No, we literally.
Now,
I
here's
know
what's-
it's the worst.
Here's what's
But,
crazy.
I mean-
You can actually trademark a pattern a little bit easier than you can copyright a pattern.
It also doesn't make sense. but I think it's really going to depend on what is included in that costume. Are there any trademarks on the costume? Like if we're looking at like an Akira jacket, for example.
So basically, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The answer is maybe.
Yeah.
Talk to a lawyer.
Yeah, I do not feel comfortable saying yes or no.
Okay.
This whole
On
thing's
that
actually
one.
been an ad. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
We need the
Perfect.
hashtag.
That's a
Hashtag
rough
ad.
one. I mean, a lot of the stuff with cosplay and figuring out with the law, a lot of it comes to creatively applying it to certain situations because, first of all these copyright questions are going to be based on a case-by-case basis. Every court is going to look at every copyright question and be like, okay, what's going on in this case? It's hard to broadly apply that stuff.
So if you're creatively applying the law, can you copyright your approach to law?
Yo, stop. Next question.
Is it tangible?
I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
Is it fixed in a tangible medium of expression? Sorry.
Danielle.
That's
I
a good
actually
question
got
for
a
Danielle.
DMCA from Valve once.
Oh, yeah?
Did you really?
I did because I was selling a print of my.
Allegedly.
Oh, right. I was allegedly selling a print of my TF2 soldier cosplay
Wow.
on Etsy, and they DMCA'd me. But I think because they also DMCA'd someone else I know who was selling a Portal print.
Gotcha.
So they're just doing
Shell
a mass
cosplay
round of
print?
it.
They were child.
And she actually like dove in and like emailed them, and they were like, "I'm so sorry, we didn't mean to DMCA your
Okay, it
cosplay.
was an
We
automated.
thought you were selling a portal gun."
Oh,
So
interesting.
some lawyer legal department got in trouble there. I can hear that.
No
So
cosplayers.
great question for Danielle. Would you recommend having a business Twitter and a personal Twitter, or combine them both?
That is the question. I feel like a lot of people have that question. It depends on you.
Ooh,
My
we're getting
answer
independence
is-
from the guests now.
It really
Yay.
depends.
Yeah.
It just depends. I personally think that you should keep everything to one account, because if somebody follows you, they want to follow you as a person and a brand, and not specifically for specific content. But that's just, my world. That's my world. So I can understand if somebody wants to make a case separately, like if you're making a travel account and somebody only cares about travel, then they don't want to see your
Okay.
lawyer
Right.
stuff. So I get it, but like in my head, in my world, in cosplay, people follow you for you. So I would keep everything on one platform personally.
Yeah, because they're fans of you, and you make a lot of different content. They're not going to be a fan of an individual cosplay. So that makes sense.
Okay. Interesting.
I think it's more comprehensive.
How would you approach that decision then? Like what would be your sort of thought process going into making the decision about keeping them separate or not?
I would say to weigh whether or not the content is going to be vastly different, sort of similar to how Facebook won't let you change your brand page's name without like proof that the content isn't going to change. If it's like, okay, I'm a cosplayer and I want to start streaming, like that's not very different. You can probably keep that on the same platform. But if you are an artist and you want to start doing modeling, I don't know if that's, it depends on how different you would weigh, I guess, the subject matter.
Okay.
I'm still a huge fan of put everything on one platform, because if I want to showcase, well, actually, here's a great example. I also do photography. So I have a photography Instagram, because if somebody suddenly who is following me, who only posts photos of myself, starts to see photos of other people, they would be confused. And I think that's kind of where I would draw the line, is like, this content is so vastly different other people's faces, in fact, that I would keep that separate, if that makes sense.
It does.
I will say that I have my Twitter to that effect. I have my Twitter, which is personal, but I also share legal stuff there. I never share legal stuff on Instagram, But if you want to find my acting career, you can just check IMDb. What's up?
There you go. Separate stuff.
You should do that
Yeah.
if you're interested in Noah's acting
You
career.
should talk with Santa. He has some very interesting videos of Noah's past acting career.
It's good.
I will.
So Danielle, is there anything that that you feel like we haven't asked that we should about the business of cosplay? Are there things that people wouldn't think to ask about, don't know, are surprises?
I think that not owning photos of yourself was like my main thing that I had to learn. Because
Today.
once you're a brand, right? Once you are your brand, like anybody could take your picture and use it to harm you in some way, which is like good to know, because if you go to a convention and everybody's taking your picture and suddenly they're posting all these horrible photos of you online that don't showcase what you did at all or make you look really bad if the lighting's bad or whatever, like all that stuff's really important. And I know that some cosplayers in the past have gotten are we allowed to curse?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Some cosplayers in the past have gotten shit for not letting everybody take their photo. But it's kind of important to be able to control how you look, like
It's your public perception.
However
Brand.
you want to compare it.
Also, you said shit. I thought that you were gonna drop an F-bomb. Anyways,
No.
got me excited.
No.
Let
Cool.
Danielle say the F word.
So awesome.
All right, we are at and just actually about over an hour. I didn't see any new questions come in for Danielle or Carolyn.
That said, if you do have more questions, you can ask them on their social media handles.
Yes.
Which, Caroline, where can people find you on socials?
You can find me at Chinnery, CHINNERY. That's
And
where
what
I am
kinds
on
of
like
things
everything.
do you post there, since Noah gave us his rundown?
Mostly caramel dancing memes right now and Animal Crossing. No, I post a lot of stuff about law, and I also post Animal Crossing and caramel dancing.
Yeah. And Danielle, where can people find you?
I'm pretty much Danielle DeNicola everywhere. Twitter, unfortunately, is one character too long for both my names, so I had to take the E out of my last name. So it's Danielle DeNicola without the first E. But everywhere else.
Galen Herbstick Cortina, I can empathize.
Yeah. Awesome. And so awesome. And then Chef Hazmat dropped links to y'all's Twitters in there as well. So guys, thank you so much for coming out. It's been a pleasure having you both. And so obviously Caroline is an amazing attorney at Morrison Rothman LLP, my colleague and friend. Danielle is an amazing new friend as of PAX East, and she's an amazing cosplayer as well. So make sure you check them out no matter where they are. Obviously, once we're able to go outside again, you can find them at conventions too. So,
once we're able to go outside again.
And Galen, where can people find you?
It got linked there, but mostly Twitter, frankly. Galen HDEC. And there's a Buffy Finances Instagram. It's mostly for baby pictures, just because that's entertaining for me, and because my wife said that I had to have an Instagram. Because, it's a something.
You have a baby.
You've probably heard her shouting in the
It's
background.
something.
She is loud. She's amazing, but very much does not realize that I'm on a call. Well, I was saying to them right before we started this morning, I was on a call with my paraplanner, and I had daughter in my lap because my wife is working, and they were fixing something on our roof, so she couldn't nap because they were banging on the roof, and she was not happy about not being able to nap as well as the roof banging. And I was a little frazzled with all that. But we're doing good now. We made it through.
Good.
We survived.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Noah, what about you? Where are you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at my lawyer friend because I'm your lawyer friend.
Nicely done.
And so you can find me on Twitter at my lawyer friend, on Instagram at my.lawyerfriend because I was a day late. But I'm also at Morrison Rothman LLP. You can reach me at noah@morrisonrothman.com with any further questions.
All right. Next week we are talking about it's got a more incendiary title than I intend. but we are talking basically about how we think streaming, YouTube, cosplay will fare in an economic downturn, since it's a kind of relevant topic right now.
If you want to be panicked or reassured, we'll do one of those.
Noah's much better at marketing than I am.
I am.
Grab bag.
Yeah, exactly.
What feeling are you going to experience this time?
It's a roller coaster of emotions.
That'll be Monday of next week. The week after that, we are off because even though they moved tax filing deadlines 3 months, that it was still the Monday before tax filing deadline, and Ernest and I will probably be swamped.
I will not be.
Yeah, no, will be a little less busy, but Ernest and I will be swamped. Anyways, thank you, everyone. We will see you
so much
in a week.
All right, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.